finna get this thing underway. All right. So today we're gonna talk about something that most people never heard before. Okay, and I'm comfortable, saying that because this is a theory that I was able to surmise from my time studying the Sumerian tablets. All right. So today we're gonna be talking about Kain of Kain and Abel. Cain and Abel of the Bible, and we're going to be talking about the exiling of Cain, how Cain was exiled, and where exactly Cain was exiled to. Now, that's something that they don't cover in the Bible. They don't talk to us about the location of Cain. They give us a vague name for a location that we have no way of finding out that region, because there's no region on our maps called Nod. All right. So in the Bible, we're told that, all right, buddy, you got to get up out of here now. You can't do this every day. So, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. My son, man, he at that age now. He don't like doors closed. So if I close the door, he going to open the door and come in. All right. So I'm going to have to do today's class with a co-host. All right. But anyway, we're discussing the exiling of Cain and how it connects with the Blk American Indian story. Okay, so I'm sure if anybody is new to my space, I'm sure this is a theory that you've never heard before. So I just ask you to fall back. You're not going to understand. If you're new to my space, you're not going to understand it. It requires a high level of research. It requires you to be connected to the stuff that I teach to even understand where I'm going with this, okay? But like I said, in the Bible, they never gave us a specific region, and they couldn't. I mean, even in the Sumerian tablet, they couldn't give us a specific region because the names of these regions that we have today didn't exist in the ancient past. Everybody understand that, right? Give me some threes in the chat if you understand that. The names of these land masses that we have today were not in existence in the ancient past. These places wasn't called Africa and India and China. Okay, these are modern names that we have attributed to these regions. Okay, so in the Bible, one of the things I always share with you guys is what the Bible is. Right now, this is not a religious zealot class, so we speak very freely, and I have no problem telling people that the Bible is a history book. It's not a spiritual source. It's a book that captures the history of the first people in the descendants of the first people. Do y'all understand that? We all understand that the Bible is a history book that captures the history of the first people and the descendants of those people. Okay? There's no spirituality in that book. There's only the talk of the history. So what you can surmise, what religious zealots think, they think that the book was written by God and handed to man, which is ridiculous, right? To even, you can't, how can God write the Bible and hand it to man when the Bible was an ongoing thing? Like it covered so many different years. Right? He couldn't hand Adam stories about Noah because Noah didn't exist yet. He couldn't, you know what I'm saying? So like when you're dealing with the Bible is an authored work. This is somebody who is narrating and translating information into a third person perspective. Okay? So when you're reading the Bible, you're dealing with somebody that's writing about things in a third person perspective. So when we talk about the story of Cain, we're missing some information, some very important information. Like we should know where Cain was exiled to. And the reason that's important is because we need to know what people came from Cain. Do y'all understand that? Now I know what people say. There's what people say, and then there's what you can prove, right? So don't y'all think we should know if everybody generally says that Cain is a bad guy or that Cain is demonic, shouldn't we know the truth, right? But we know that that's not the truth about Cain because we see what the Sumerian tablets show us, what the Sumerian tablets offer us, right? But we should be able to see what people grew from his line, from his lineage, because he definitely had a lineage. All right, Cain definitely had a lineage. So this is what we're going to be discussing today. We're going to be discussing this theory of how Cain was exiled into what I know to be the southern slopes of the Himalayan region. Southern slopes of the Himalaya, the Nepalese, India region. All right. What's up, Pink? Peace and love, Sister Pink in the building. Much love, Pink. We're just doing an intro. We just started to talk about what we're going to be talking about today. So like I say, this theory covers the idea that Cain was exiled into, basically, let me show you on the map. Let me show you on the map. Give me just a second. Okay, I got you, my sister. You drive safe and you have a good night at work as well. What's up, G? G is in the building. Peace and love, my sister. And G, thank you for your donation. Thank you for the love that you showed too to the UMF. Much love, G. So let me show y'all this map right quick. So this is the Nepalese, India, China region right here. This is the southern slopes of the Himalayas. All right. So this theory today surmises that Cain was exiled to this region. Okay. And hey, boy. Oh, you got to go. Hey, brother, you got to go. Oh, you got to go, brother. Y'all give me just a second. This new for me. Hold on. Come on, brother. Hey, let's go. Let's go. You done in here, all right? No. Okay? No. Go lay down. Come on. Go lay down. All right, daddy daycare. All right, sorry about that, guys. My son, I told y'all, man, my son, he at this stage. I used to ain't have to worry about him busting in the door because he was too little. But now, shoo. All right, so let me get back to my intro. So what I'm saying is the theory is that Cain was exiled into some region. All right, and we trying to get to the bottom of it based off the information that we get from the tablets, okay? And this is what we're about to break down today. We're about to break down the information we get from the tablets to conclude the region that Cain was exiled to. And once I show you that region, I'm going to make a connection to how Cain is ultimately the father of the Black Indian. Okay, so this is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about Bliblical Kain and how he is the father of the Asiatic races and how the Asiatic races is the group that's the predecessors to the Black American Indians. All right, so this is what we're going to be talking about today, gang. I hope y'all are ready to sit tight and listen. It's going to be a good class. It's going to be a fun class. Good information. Shout out to everybody in the building. I hope everybody that want to be here is here. All right, we're going to get into some high-level information today. All right, shout out to everybody that's in the building. Like I say, guys, we're going to be talking about something. We're going to be talking about a theory that I was able to surmise based on my research of the Sumerian tablet and other extensive forms of research that I've engaged in, okay? So for anybody that's in here that's new to what I do, please just fall back. Okay, I've been teaching for years. The people that's in here, these are my class members. These are people who paid to be in here, paid to receive the information. I am not here to validate myself for people who don't know me, okay? So if any of my theories seem far-fetched to you, I just ask that you fall back, listen, and if you do have an issue with any theory or anything that I propose, write it down, and then you can challenge me after I'm done, okay? You can challenge me at the end of class. I don't mind hanging around to debate some of the information. Again, these are the instructions. If you hear me say something that you have issue with, write it down, make a note of it, and then we'll come back at the end and I'll allow you to challenge me if you feel a way. But this is exclusive research. This is not research that's been regurgitated through the internet. Like I say, there are people who regurgitate information, and there's people who create studies, who create the information, okay? So this information is created from pure raw research. I am a secondary researcher. I take the research of primary researchers and I make it palpable or understandable for common people. That's my job. My job is to take extensive, complex research and make it easy for you to understand, okay? So today we're going to be discussing the exiling of Bliblical Kain, all right? We're talking about Bliblical Kain and how his exiling connects with the Black American Indian story. Miss Kim in the house. Peace and love, my sister. So like I say, today we're going to be discussing the exiling of Kain and how it connects with the Black American Indian story. So you're getting twofers in here today. This is a twofer. First, you got a lot of people that don't even know that black people was in the Americas before everybody. All right, so give me an 8 if you've either heard people say this or that you know this to be true. Give me an 8 if you know that black people were present in this landmass and other landmass before all others. Give me an 8 if you know this to be true, or even if you just heard about something like this. Yeah, they think it's a myth. They think it's some kind of fucking myth. You know what's so funny to me? These others, they can get out here and they can champion all kind of stories about Tartarian Empire and this and that and all this other shit. But soon as we say that black folks was the original Indians and that black people were the first tribal people on American lands, that can't be possible. Ain't no way. The only way you guys got over here were through the slave trade. That's because you're not an avid researcher. And this is why, let me tell y'all something else before we begin. This is why engaging in futile debate is frivolous. It's frivolous to be out here trying to debate every baby brain out here that has an issue with your evidence. Let me tell y'all something, guys. We can tell who's the knowledgeable researchers and who's the people that's just spouting bullshit, okay? Allow me to give you my information, and then if you want to pick it apart, feel free to pick it apart. But at least listen first. So like I say, today we're going to be discussing the exiling of Kain and how it connects with the Black American Indian story. Yesterday, I sprinkled a few seeds alluding to Kain's exiling from Eden that led to the first black civilization outside of Anunnaki dominion. So I talked a little bit about that to y'all yesterday. To understand this requires people to go into a deeper level of hidden history research. Okay, so the first thing you need to understand, this shit that we talking about, this has been hid from people. This is not what they want y'all to know. They don't want y'all to know the truth. So I need y'all to stop coming up talking about, what's your proof? Did you get your proof from a scholar? Did you get your proof from this institution? These people never wanted y'all to know the truth. You think these institutions gonna give you the truth? Hell no. You got to go get it for self. I went and got it for myself, and I'm able to bring it to you, okay? So it's supposed to sound far-fetched because it goes against the program and it goes against the brainwashing, all right? So yesterday, I sprinkled a few seeds alluding to Kain's exiling from the Eden that led to the first black civilization outside of Anunnaki dominion. To understand this will require a deeper level of hidden history research. Most people you met in life have only come in contact with surface level research, and they think that that's the floor. But I promise you, this research goes way deeper. The Sumerian tablets brings us into those deeper levels while offering us insight in great detail about humanity's true story. Once again, if you want to know what really took place with humanity, you need to tap in with the Sumerian tablets. I keep telling folks there, like, you're not going to ever understand why we got all these different groups of people. You're not going to ever understand the history of where people started, where people migrated to. You're not going to ever understand that history unless you embrace the Sumerian tablets. Sister Shay is in the house. Peace and love, Sister Shay. You made it just in time. All right, we just now beginning. We just started on the intros, okay? So like I say, the Sumerian tablets are going to bring you to those deeper levels while offering insight in greater detail about humanity's true history. The stories of the Bible have an origin, and that origin or beginning is not the Bible. The origin is found in these tablets, where the biblical stories are told in much greater detail. All right? The stories of the Bible have an origin. They don't originate with the Bible. The Sumerian tablets brings us into the deeper levels of hidden history while offering us insight in great detail about humanity's true story. The stories of the Bible have an origin, and that origin or beginning is not the Bible. The origin is found in these tablets. Everybody understand that? Your Bible is made up of two main books. There's an Old Testament and there's a New Testament. The New Testament was written by modern man. We know the New Testament to be authored by Paul. Okay? The New Testament was authored by Paul, a man. All right? The Dead Sea Scrolls, brother, is young. Please don't come up in here offering no information if you don't know what you're talking about, okay? The Dead Sea Scrolls go back to 300 BC. These go back to 3500 BC. All right? Do you understand the difference? The Old Testament gets its origins from the Sumerian tablets. All right? The Sumerian tablets are 3,500 years older. 3,500 to 5,000 years older than the first Bible, the first completed Bible. It's 3,500 to 5,000 years older than the first completed Bible, okay? So your Old Testament has its origins here. New Testament was authored by Paul. The Bible offers us a creation story in a very simplistic, vague form, which does not align with complexities we see from humanity. Whereas the tablet offers us a much more technical explanation that actually aligns with what we are genetically. Now understand this, when you're dealing with humanity, right? And you say, I want to understand the process of creation with God to humans. Where if you lean in on the Bible for that, all you get is God picked up some dirt, blew breath in it, and all of a sudden man was here. Now, when you understand the complexities, the complex anatomy of humans, of us, then you know it's much more to that story than God blowing breath into clay. If you choose to embrace that, it's just because you choose to embrace that. You don't have any proof of that. You just choose to embrace that. But if you understand the anatomy of human beings, we are far too complex for that to be the end all be all. Okay? So all I'm saying is that it's more to the story than the Bible is giving us. And if you want to understand how much more to the story it is, then you have to embrace the Sumerian tablets. Because this is where you find the great detail. This is where you find what really happened with the creation of humanity. Now, the Sumerian tablets does not cover the creation of the universe. It don't cover the creation of man. What it covers is the process of a genetic alteration that man went through. The Bible is not dealing with the God of the universe. Some people don't understand this. The Bible is dealing with men who were perceived as gods. Okay? This is what you learn when you go to the higher levels of research. What you learn is that Bible that y'all think is God giving instructions to humans is, in fact, the Anunnaki giving instructions to their genetic creation. That's what you're going to find out when you get to the deeper levels. One of the main stories of the Bible that doesn't completely add up is the story of Cain. So the general story is that Cain killed Abel out of malice, which we now know isn't true, right? After yesterday, give me a 5 in the chat if you still feel like Cain killed Abel out of malice. Give me a 7 in the chat if you feel like Cain killed Abel because he didn't know how to control his emotions. If you think it was 7 if he didn't know how to control his emotions, 5 if you think it was done out of malice. Of course, yeah, of course. Now y'all can see the real story. So you got to understand, they done made this man out to be a demonic figure in the Bible. People, when people talk about Cain, people talk about something that's akin to Satan. They say the mark of Cain. They talk about the mark of Cain as if it's the mark of the beast, right? So if it's some more information to that, don't you think we should know? Because Cain is a very important figure. I mean, guys, these are some of the first, well, I'm going to explain more later, but for biblical purposes, these are some of the first couple people in the world. These are some of the first couple people in the world, right? So if Abel is dead and Cain lived on, we should be able to see what happened with Cain's life. What actually happened? Because Cain didn't just fade off. Okay, Cain had a life, guys. He had a life outside of the Eden. And that's the information that you have not been able to cover, because for one thing, the Council of Nicaea removed 16, I think ultimately 23 books of the Bible. Okay? So at least 23 books of the Bible is meant. So let's make sure everybody understand this. Stop saying that the Bible is the word of God if man has edited and removed books from the Bible. It can't be the word of God if man can alter it. Why would God, the most powerful being in all of existence, create a doctrine that could be altered by man? So we should know more about what happened with Cain. And the reason I'm saying this, guys, is because Cain had a line. Cain had a lineage. There were descendants of Cain. So for better or for worse, we should want to know who are his descendants, what happened with him. We should want to know that, right? So this is what we're going to get into today, based off of what we get from the Sumerian tablets. So the general story is that Cain killed Abel out of malice, which we now know isn't true. But after this attack, he was exiled from Eridu, in which the Eden was located. The Bible records his exiling to a place the Bible's authors would call Nod, okay? So that's how you know the Bible was authored by somebody, because they used the Nod name, guys. We don't even know what Nod is. Ain't no landmass that we know of that's called Nod, okay? They didn't know what Cain was exiled to. That's why they probably wrote Nod, because they didn't know. So, but we don't have a landmass or a place that we call Nod. So where exactly did Cain end up, and why is that important? Well, what people don't know is that Cain was not sent into exile alone. That's the first thing. Let's make sure we understand that. Cain was not sent into exile alone. You're going to see this next week when we get back and we start reading from the tablets. You're going to see that Cain was accompanied by his wife. Okay, so yes, he had a wife. All right. Now, we are to assume that it was other civilized beings that were created from the Anunnaki seed. Now let's go back. When they created the civilized line, when they created the Adapa and the Titi, they didn't stop there. Y'all got to know that. You know that this wasn't a one and done thing, okay? So when you're dealing with the Adapa and the Titi, it's like being a professor trying to give a symposium and you keep getting baby brains in here. All right, please, baby brains, pipe down. The people that's in here, they know what I teach. They know what I'm about. They trust my teachings. They know where I'm going. I'm not here to teach people who are brainwashed on the Bible that ain't never researched the Bible. Most people that read the Bible don't even understand the Bible. I can read circles around your Bible. Okay? So pipe down and allow me to teach this information. So anyway, let's get back to it. So I was talking about Cain's wife. Okay? So how many of y'all even heard that he had a wife? Yeah, give me a 1 in the chat if you've ever heard. 2 if you never heard that he had a wife. 1 if you ever heard that he had a wife. 2 if you never heard that he had a wife. That's what I want to do today. I want to break exclusive information. I want to bring y'all exclusive information. I ain't trying to bring y'all the shit that you done heard before. I'm not trying to bring you information that you done heard regurgitated. This is new exclusive stuff. Okay? So you're going to see that he did have a wife. Now, the reason you can assume that he had a wife anyway, even though the Sumerian tablets tells us he had a wife, because when they created the Adapa and Titi, that wasn't a one and done. You think that Enki successfully brought forth those people and then he was like, okay, let's not do it again. All right? No, because they were smart enough. First of all, they had already went through the degraded line of the Adamu. So they didn't want to deal with incest, okay? So if Enki would have stopped at creating Adapa and Titi, Cain and Abel wouldn't have had nobody to mate with. Because you can't mate if Adapa has daughters. They can't mate with their sisters because they share the same genetic sequence with those women. So what happened, what we are to assume is that other Anunnaki seeded Adamu women and created civilized men, okay? So we are to make that assumption because Cain had a wife, okay? So we are to assume that they definitely had other Adapites. So under this assumption, it's easy to see that Cain would have a wife. And also, he got a wife because he had a lineage. All right, if you want to go look up Google's Cain's family tree, you will see that Cain had a wife, children. Okay, all you got to do is pull up his family tree. You can see that he had a wife and he had children. And if Cain had a wife, that means Cain had children, which means they were the beginning of a civilization. The question is, which civilization? Do y'all understand? This is what we're trying to get to. So we know he had a wife, and he had children. And if he had children, that means that they were the start of a civilization. So we're here to surmise what civilization that sprang from the seed of Cain, all right? Now, based off of biblical misinterpretations and misunderstandings, a lot of people see Cain as some form of demon seed. But if you follow my teachings and you know these devil concepts are misinterpreted, you know that he is not a demon seed, okay? So the whole concept of the devil is misinterpreted. This is one of these things that I teach. I've taught before. I don't know if you heard me say it before, but I kind of broke down to y'all where the concept of the devil even comes from, all right? There's a big difference in what we call Satan and Lucifer, and I explained in another class where these concepts come from, but I'm telling y'all, he is not some form of demon seed. He acted out in anger at a time when humans didn't have control of their emotions, much less understand them. So in doing this research, you got to be able to wrap your mind around the idea of what life was like for the first people. Yeah, do y'all understand that? Like, it ain't the same as it is for us. We come into a society and we're giving understandings on how to control our emotions, how to react if certain things happen. These first people didn't have none of that, okay? So if somebody got too angry, they might lash out in a physical, violent way, okay? And so this is kind of what happened with Cain. Cain didn't have control of his emotions, much less even understand them, all right? So he was not demonic, and neither was his line of people. Because as we know, Cain had generations. Adapa tells Cain that from him 7 nations shall rise. Okay, so when Adapa is on his deathbed and he summons for Cain and Abel, summons for Cain and Seth to come to his bedside, Adapa tells Cain that from him 7 nations shall rise. So who were these nations? The tablets don't tell us the exact region that Cain was in. And I'm glad it doesn't, because that would be untrue. These regions didn't have any names in those times. Do y'all understand that? The Sumerian tablet can't tell us a name of a region because the regions didn't have a name. The Bible can't tell us the name of a region because the Bible didn't get a name from the Sumerian tablet. That's how you know the Sumerian tablet is authentic, because they don't give you a name, but they do give you a clue. See, this is how the Sumerian tablets work. They give you the clue in order for you to go and do the research. All right? Shout out to Inky. Big shout out to Inky for that. So they did give us a huge clue that pushed us in the right way. And I'm about to share that clue with y'all, okay? It is my estimation that Cain began in the southern slopes of the Himalayas, okay? This is east of the African region. This is the India area. This is the southern slopes of the Himalaya. All right. Now, why is Chief saying that he believes that Cain was in this region? Okay. We gotta put it all together. We about to piece it together. Okay. So all my intelligent people, this is what y'all came here for. We finna piece together the puzzle. Okay. It is my estimation that he began in the southern slopes of the Himalayas. And I came to this conclusion based on circumstantial evidence as well as by way of a 19th century archaeologist, botanist, and historian by the name of C.S. Raffinesse. Okay? We're going to be talking about good old C.S. today, all right? This is, I don't know if y'all can see this guy's picture at the bottom. Okay? This is C.S. Raffinesse. You need to get familiar with him. All right? You need to get familiar with Constantine Samuel Raffinesse Schmaltz. Because if you are somebody that champions the theory that the American Indian was black and that the Black American Indian was here first, if you champion that theory, you need to know Constantine Samuel Raffinesse Schmaltz. Because this white man in the 19th century told the world that the first inhabitants of the Americas was black people. Y'all ready for that receipt? They say we ain't got no proof. They called us pretendians. So the story of the Black American Indian is not that we began in America. We migrated to America before anybody was in civilization. We was the first people to live on American lands in civilization 100,000 years ago. Okay? So today I'm about to give y'all the information to support that theory. And this guy, Constantine Samuel Raffinesse Schmaltz, he dropped one of the nails in the coffin when in regards to that information. Once again, this white man from the 19th century had balls big enough to come out and say that black people were the original people of the Americas. All right, so let's talk about it. Let's get into it. It is my estimation that Cain was exiled to the southern slopes of the Himalayas. And I came to this conclusion based on some circumstantial evidence as well as by way of a 19th century archaeologist, botanist, and historian by the name of C.S. Raffinesse. So like the Bible tells, because of this transgression, a curse was put upon Cain. All right, so y'all have heard that story, right? That a mark was placed upon Cain for killing Abel. It was never clear in the Bible what that mark was. They just tell us that a mark was placed upon Cain. But you got to go to the source. You got to go to the origin of the Bible if you want to know what that mark was. He was not given a physical mark. The mark was a genetic change. He was changed genetically to be beardless. Okay, this is everything that I'm talking about now. Y'all going to get this next week. You're going to hear this from the Sumerian tablets. Okay, the curse that they put upon Cain was a change genetically to be beardless. The beard was an important symbol of strength in Anunnaki culture. This is why you see so many Anunnaki statues heavily bearded. Think about it. Every Anunnaki statue you've seen, what do they got? Big bearded braids. Okay? So the beard was a status of strength. It was a symbol of strength. Okay? It was a spiritual thing with them when it comes to the beard. Okay? I think for a man not to have a beard, they considered you like a bitch. Right? I think that's the thing with the Anunnaki. So the mark they put upon Cain was for him to be beardless. All right? So keep that in your pocket too, because that's going to come up later. Now, as far as his exiling, this is where we begin. Your Bible is the result of the Sumerian tablet information that was translated many thousands of times before it becomes the Bible you know today. The tablets tell us that Cain was sent east to a land of wandering. All right, now listen up. This is what you're going to cover next week. All right, you didn't get to see this yesterday, but these are the instructions that Cain received. Okay, so we're getting ready to come up on this in the next chapter, okay? In Eridu, judgment upon Cain, I got this thing in my way. In Eridu, judgment upon Cain was pronounced by Enki. Enki told Cain, eastward to a land of wandering for his evil deed. Y'all see this? This is the clue. We got to follow the clue, okay? So walk slow with me, baby. Eastward to a land of wandering for his evil deed. Okay, so they say he went eastward. Eastward of Eridu. Okay, so first off, let's take a look at where Eridu is located. Okay, so this is Eridu. Right there on the coast of the Persian Gulf. Okay, this is where the Eden is located. All right. So he was sent east of this. Everybody know their cardinal directions, right? East would be to my right. Okay? So if we traveled eastward of the Eden, you would eventually, follow me guys, look up here. Look where my finger at. If we went eastward from here, eventually you come into this Pakistani, India, Himalayan region. Okay? This is eastward of the Eden. So if he was traveled eastward of the Eden, he would eventually come into this region. Okay? So I am to surmise that this is where he began because we have evidence to support that. There are some adjoining evidence that I'm going to offer you to support him being in this region. Before I even found the evidence, let me tell y'all something. Let me tell y'all why I love researching. This is when you know you're on the right path. I created this theory before I had the evidence to support it. I created this theory just based off of the clues, just based off of the research. And then later, I discovered C.S. Raffines. And when I read what C.S. said, blew me away. That was one of my greatest videos to date on TikTok. Of course, that was one of my pages that got banned. But my video on C.S. Raffines went viral. It went crazy. Okay? It was a lot of hate in the comments, but it was a lot of love too. Okay? So when I read what C.S. said, I was blown away. Okay? C.S. Raffines said that these American Indians had their origins from a migration that began in Southeast Asia. He said particularly the southern Himalayan slopes. He said the southern slopes of the Himalaya. He said particularly in that region. Okay, so watch this. Hold on. Just walk with me slow. I'm finna bring it all together. Okay. So we had CS supporting this even though this was just a theory that I had. The tablets tell us that Cain was sent east to a land of wandering. So like I say, when you go east from this region, you end up in this Himalayan region. So let me show you a better map of that region. Let's do it like this. This is that region right here up close. Okay? So this is the Himalayas right here that they got highlighted. This is the Himalayas. And within the Himalayas, you got Nepal. Just below the Himalayas, you got India. And just above the Himalayas, you got China. Now, how many of y'all know that black people were the first civilizations of India? And even black people were some of the first dynasties of China. Give me some fives in the chat if you've heard this before. I don't care if you believe it. Just give me a 5 if you've heard this. That black people were the first inhabitants of India. Black people were the first inhabitants of China. Anything I say, you can go and fact check me. You can go out in the world and fact check this now. Okay? So we're finna bring it all together. So if you go east of that land, you would be headed toward this Pakistan, India, Himalaya region. Based on circumstantial evidence, this is probably the area of his exile. Okay? Now, why is Chief saying that? Why is Chief saying that? Not just because CS said it. Let's look at the facts. Let's look at the facts of this region. Okay? If you understand that black people were indigenous to this region, it would explain why black people are indigenous to this region. Okay, so Kain's exile into this region would explain where these black folks come from. So they try to tell y'all that these black people that were in India or these black people that were in China migrated from Africa. Okay? But that's not what happened. They keep trying to say everybody migrated out of Africa. That ain't what happened, guys. Okay? I'm going to be honest with y'all. I honestly don't think no Africans ever migrated. Africa is too big. I don't think no Africans truly migrated out. All right? What you're going to understand is we traveled out. We were traveled out of the region. But I'm going to get into all that because it gets kind of complex. But these people that was in this region, they are not like Africans. They are melanated people, but they are not like Africans. So to say Africans migrated into this region, then the black people of these regions should look like the Africans. They don't. They don't. They got different hair texture. They look different. They got these moon eyes. Okay? These are different types of people. They definitely melanated folks though, okay? These indigenous original blacks of the Himalayan Indian region are the original people of that area. All right, so let me show y'all some of these people. So we got Nepal, we got India, and up top we got China. So let me show y'all some Nepalese people. Okay, that's a melanated Nepalese woman. If you never saw one before, okay, that's a melanated Nepalese woman. All right. It's a melanated Nepalese man. Okay? Some type of royalty. He's some type, look like Haile Selassie. All right? It's a melanated Nepalese man. Some melanated Nepalese brothers. They look kind of Asian. Look at them afros. Look at that Asian phenotype on their face. Okay? This is where the term Asiatic come from, guys. The term Asia come from us. We are the original Asiatics. Do y'all understand that? The black man was called Asiatic before he was called any of that shit. Before he was called black, before he was called Negro, before he was called colored, he was called Asiatic. Give me a 7 in the chat if you know this to be true. If you've heard this to be true. Give me a 7 if you know this to be true. Look at the Asian phenotype. Look at the afros. These are Nepalese men. Where these black men come from? These don't look like Africans. These dudes don't look like Africans, homie. Okay? Come on, look at this. Look, this is a Dravidian woman. This is from India. Okay? This is a Dravidian woman from India. Okay? Right under Nepal, you got India. Dravidian woman. Look at her. She don't look like an African. She's a beautiful melanated woman. Different type of hair type, phenotype you can see. Another Dravidian woman. Okay? Another Dravidian. Dravidians and Aryans. Okay? So these are the indigenous original blacks of that Himalayan region. I want y'all to understand that. Now pay attention to something. I say Kain started right here. Kain was exiled to this region. You think it's a coincidence that we got indigenous black people in this region, in India? You think that's a coincidence? Think about what I'm saying. Now, Kain wasn't like the modern day African. Okay, Kain was an early Adapite. Okay, so when Kain was exiled into this region, you know, the people that he built, they started from here. These weren't migration. These weren't people that was in Africa and was like, oh, let me go find a better place to live. And that's why I can't understand the migration story. Like, that don't even make no sense. People not going to just start walking across country. Okay? That don't make no sense. They just keep saying that dumb shit. The people that migrated in Africa migrated within Africa. They might have went from one village to another village. They might have went from one city to another city. They didn't mob out of the fucking to another country. Okay? No. That's bullshit. All right? So these people were a direct stock of Kain. This is why you have these black people in that region. This is why these black people are in that region. Okay? But we ain't done at all. We ain't nearby done. We just beginning. All right? This is where our initial investigation starts. So you have a stock of black people in these regions that's historically regarded as the indigenous people of the region. If he landed in this region, it's easy to see how these generations would have extended into these Indian, Nepalese, and China regions. That makes perfect sense, right? If he started here and he had sons and daughters, and other people had sons and daughters, and they made it and they created more, it's easy to see how they could have migrated from the southern slopes of the Himalaya down into India. Everybody can see that? How some of them could have migrated from the southern slopes over into Nepal, into what became Nepal. Nepal is the southern slopes. So they ain't have to, we just called that area Nepal. So they were already in that area. Then some of them migrated down into India. Okay? So y'all can see how close that is. That's very close. These two border each other. So that makes sense. That migration would make sense. A migration from Africa walking into India don't make sense. But a migration from here to here, that's doable all day long. But what really gives credence to this theory is what we get from 19th century historian and archaeologist C.S. Raffines. All right, let's talk CS. Let's talk CS, guys. Here we go. It's a big piece of information right here if you're a fan of the Blk American Indian. I've done many classes on Mr. C.S. Raffines, and I say Mr. because he deserves that respect for having the balls to publish the findings he made in the early 19th century America. Guys, I'm talking about the 1820s. This man right here at the bottom of the screen, this man in the 1820s, I'm going to say that one more time. In the early 19th century, in the 1820s, this man told the world that black people were the original indigenous people of America. Do y'all understand that? In 1820, he told us. And this was a very respected, very credible individual. So let's get to know CS. How about we get to know C.S. Raffines, all right? Let's get to know C.S. All right, so we're finna read about C.S., all right? Let's get it. Please show some love to the live, man. TGIF is up top for the gifts. If you're hanging out with us, if you're enjoying the information, if you value the information, all I ask is that you support the live. Please tap up the goal, help us hit our goal, okay? If you feel like you don't value the information, please find you another live to be entertained, okay? I want people in here that value what we do. I don't want folks that want to be entertained and not show the love, okay? Show the equal love, man. I'm going to show you some love. Show me some love, all right? Here we go. We're going to talk about CS. Like I say, CS gave us the nail in the coffin piece of proof, the nail in the coffin receipt that says that Black American Indians was present on this continent before any other groups of people. Okay, so let's read. Constantine Samuel Raffinus Schmaltz was a French 19th century polymath. All right, they're going to use a couple words in here that I'm going to break down to y'all, okay? He was a French 19th century polymath born near Constantinople in the Ottoman Empire. He was self-educated in France. He traveled as a young man in the United States, ultimately settling in Ohio in 1815, where he made notable contributions to botany, zoology, and the study of prehistoric earthworks in North America. So he studied the mounds. Do y'all understand that? Give me a 7 in the chat if you understand that. Okay, this man was a botanist. He was a zoologist. And he also studied the prehistoric earthworks in North America. That means he studied the mounds. That's what prehistoric earthworks are. They are the mounds. You know, the mounds that the Native Americans don't want us to get into, because the Native Americans don't want us to find out that those are Black people buried in the mounds. Native Americans, some Native American chiefs have already admitted that that they didn't build the mounds, that they didn't have nothing to do with the mounds.
The problem with that is that a lot of these mounds, the native people didn't build. We didn't build them.
Religion, we're never really known to be mound builders, so it's a mystery.
I can send you the quote from Chief Wallace of the Shawnee tribe saying they did not build these mounds.
We have proof of this stuff, guys. I got miles of proof of this stuff. The Native Americans said that when they got here, the mounds were already here. And see, this is what we keep trying to teach these people. Y'all have been told that these Native American people was here forever. They was not here forever. These people migrated down into this area. These people are from Siberia. Their entire culture is in Siberia. If you go to, let me tell y'all something, what you never gonna see. You never gonna see identical cultures in two different locations that's not related to each other. Do y'all understand that? You know what's the chances that, I'll give you an example. You ain't gonna see, if you go, let's say you go to Sweden and you see the culture in Sweden. You're not gonna go to the other side of the world in China and see that same culture. You're not gonna see it, okay? Because it's Swedish culture. Now, but for some reason, the Native American culture, we find this same exact culture in Siberia. We find the teepees. We find we find all the dances. Same culture, okay? So we know that these people migrated down into the area, and they love to say that they migrated 20,000 years ago, but that's not true, okay? These people probably been here probably in the last maybe 600 years. I swear to God, at the most, maybe the last 600-700 years at the most. Okay. But this man, he studied the mounds. Okay. So this was one of the things he studied. Let's get back to it. All right. He made notable contributions to botany, zoology, and the study of prehistoric earthworks in North America. He also contributed to the study of American linguistics. That's languages. Okay. Mesoamerican linguistics. So he studied, listen to that. He also contributed to the study of ancient Mesoamerican linguistics. That's the ancient languages of Mesoamerica, all right, of Mesoamerica. So he studied all the ancient languages, all right? Let's see what else we got. Raffinus was an eccentric and erratic genius. They say he was a genius. They say he was an eccentric and erratic genius. He was an autodidact. That's another word we're going to break down, okay? They say he was a polymath. They say he was an autodidact, and next they're going to give us another word about him too. They say he was an autodidact who excelled in various fields of knowledge. As a zoologist, botanist, writer, and polyglot, that's another word we're going to break down, okay? So they called him a polymath. They called him an autodidact. They called him a polyglot and a polymath. We're going to need to know what all of those words mean so we can understand who CS is, okay? He wrote prolifically on such diverse topics such as anthropology, biology, geology, and linguistics, but was honored in none of these fields during his lifetime. Indeed, he was an outcast in the American scientific community. Now, you know why this man was an outcast. You know damn well that they wasn't going to accept him saying that black people were the original people of the Americas, when they were already trying to feed you that the Native Americans were. Now, you got to understand why white people was pushing this narrative that Native Americans were the originals. Because in order for them to steal the land, they had to give you a fake owner. That's the only reason they can keep control of this land. Because if the true owner realizes who they are, if black people wake up and realize who we are, we can contest their ownership of the land, okay? But we got to wake up. We got to realize who we are. They talk about this all the time, about black people, about taking the turbans off their head and the sandals off their feet so that they never realize who they truly are, okay? So they talk about this stuff all the time, guys. So the Native Americans was given to you as a placeholder. Okay, they don't have a real claim to this land. The white man couldn't do what he did to the Native American if this was actually the Native Americans' land. They couldn't do it. They could appeal to the international courts. They can't appeal to international courts because international courts do not have a record of them being the original people of this land. This is why they got federal recognition and not international recognition. Native American tribes are recognized federally, because they're in cahoots with the federal government. The federal government was running the rules, okay? Now, if y'all want to hear about that, you got to check me out in the Great American Law class. I'll go deep into that. But anyway, now, like I said, this man was an outcast to the scientific community because he stood on things that others felt like he shouldn't say, okay? Shit, they'll kill you today. Think about if you say the wrong thing about history, they'll come and get you today. So think about what it was like for him back then. Now you understand why I call him Mr. C.S. Raffinesse, because he had the balls to stand up and say something at a time where it could have led to his unaliving. All right, so among his theories, listen to this, guys. Here we go. Among his theories were that ancestors of Native Americans had migrated by the Bering Sea, just like what I told you, from Asia, which is Siberia, to North America. The Native Americans get mad when we bring this up, but all of science in CS said the same thing. They migrated by the Bering Sea from Asia to North America. But listen to this. But that the Americas were populated by black indigenous people at the time of European contact. Do y'all hear that? Huh? Put some respect on that man's name. Listen to that. He said that the Americas were populated by black indigenous people at the time of European contact. They say we ain't got no proof. It's because they don't want to embrace the proof. Oh, but let's keep going. We ain't done. Let's keep going. We ain't done. We just warming up. So let's talk about some of these words that they call CS. So, and what I'm doing, guys, listen, this is a build. Okay, so you got to follow along. We're breaking down a lot of complex information. We're talking about Kain, his exiling, and how Kain's exile and how biblical Kain is connected to the Black American Indian. Okay, so they called CS a polymath, a polygot, and an autodidact. All right. So let's take a look at some of these definitions of some of these terms. Okay. Autodidactism. This is the word autodidactism. Okay. This means that you are self-educated. You are self-learned. All right. It's education without the guidance of masters such as teachers and professors. Okay? Generally, autodidacts are individuals who choose the subject that they will study. They're studying material and studying rhythm in time. Autodidacts may not have formal education, and their study may either be a complement or something, I can't even see that, to formal education. Many notable masters have been made by autodidacts, all right? Many notable contributions have been made by autodidacts. So the first thing you need to know, autodidacts are self-taught people. And these are usually the best, these are usually the most intelligent people because they're not impeded by a biased teacher. So I want y'all to understand something right quick. Teachers are good, but you got to be careful what kind of teacher you're dealing with. There are some teachers who will push their biases on you. Do y'all know what I mean? You got some teachers that won't teach you the raw truth. Some teachers will try to teach you the narrative that they want you to believe. Give me a 1 in the chat if you understand that. Okay, this is why, you know, there's a difference between a pure teacher and a teacher that teaches controlled curriculum. It's a big difference. I consider myself a pure teacher. That means I give raw data, raw information. It don't matter how much the information contradicts with what I believe. I'm going to bring you the raw story. I'm not going to try to doll it up. I'm not going to try to chop it up and edit it. I'm going to bring you the raw story. Okay? Exactly, love. Most of them teach from a script. That's why it's called controlled curriculum. Okay? And even more dangerous is when a teacher, this is why I fell out with the Black Indian community on TikTok, because they wanted me to teach a narrative that they created as opposed to what the research said. So the research said one thing, and these other people, they wanted to say something different. I got to go with what the research says, okay? So he was an autodidact. He was a self-taught master. That people that are autodidact, they usually excel in mastery. Because anything you do for it, think about it. Anything you do for yourself, you always learn it the best because you have to work the hardest to understand it. Okay? So now we know what autodidact is. Let's look at some of these other terms that they called him. They also called him a polymath. Okay, so let's see what a polymath is, all right? Let's take a look at a polymath definition. Okay, here we go. A polymath, one having learned much. It means one who have learned much. Basically, a person that has learned a lot. In Western Europe, the first work to use the term polymathy in its title, okay, polymathy, defined polymathy as knowledge of, I can't see that at the bottom. Von Warren defined polymathy as knowledge of various matters, okay? So a polymath is one who is well learned. That means they learned a lot. So they covered a lot of different subjects, okay? So now we know CS is a self-taught master, and we know that he covered a lot of different subjects, okay? They also called him a polygot. Let's see what a polygot is, okay? A polymath, a person of wide-ranging knowledge or learning, okay? So we know that this man was intelligent. They also called him a polygot. Let's see what a polygot is, okay? Polygot, knowing or using several languages. Okay, so we know that to be true because they say he was a teacher of Mesoamerican linguistics. So the man knew 7 languages in the early 19th century. You know how smart you got to be to know that shit back then? The man, ain't no man on the planet that know multiple languages is unintelligent. Okay? So I told y'all all that to lend credibility to CS. So now I think we can move forward in trying to embrace CS's research because we know he was regarded as a genius. We know he was regarded as a polygot, a polymath. a wide range of learning. We know he knew several languages, okay? And we also know that he had the balls. We also know he had the balls to offer something that nobody else would do at that time. Okay? So we finna, listen, this is what we gonna do, guys. We finna read his paperwork. Okay? This is his paperwork, and he finna drop a bombshell. He finna drop a bombshell in his paperwork, all right? Big shout out to everybody that did gift. Okay, so let's talk CS, baby. I told y'all we got the proof. I told y'all the Blk American Indian was real. I told y'all the Blk American Indian was in America before everybody. Okay? So let's get back to what our brother CS had to say, okay? So CS, he won a major award from the Society of Geography, okay? He won a major award from the Society of Geography for his memoirs that he wrote. And now I'm about to talk to y'all about the memoirs. If you want to, hey, listen, if you want to screen grab this information, this is a good piece to screen grab, all right? For everybody that says that we don't have evidence that the Blk American Indian was the first on American land masses, I offer you this, all right? Here we go. The Society of Geography, having offered a reward for the best memoir on the origin of the Asiatic Negroes. Remember I told y'all we talking about the Aziatics. Okay? I told y'all we talking about the Aziatics. I told y'all the Aziatics are the predecessors of what we call the Blk American Indian. All right? He says the Society of Geography offered a reward for the best memoir on the origin of the Asiatic Negroes. And this is from Professor C.S. Raffinez. This is a letter he was writing. The Society of Geography offered a reward for the best memoir on the origin of the Asiatic Negroes. I sent them last year 2 memoirs. One on those Asiatic Negroes. And my second memoir, look down here at the bottom. I'm going to skip all this. I'm going to come back to this up here. My second memoir was on the Negro or Black nations found in America before Columbus. Did you hear that? He wrote 2 memoirs, and he was awarded 2 gold medals for these memoirs. One memoir on the origin of the Asiatic Negro, and the second memoir was on the Negro or the Black nations found in America before Columbus. How you like that? How you like that? They say we wasn't, guys, I'm telling y'all, man, listen to me. The real Matrix story is that you're living a complete and utter lie. How many of y'all in committed relationships out there? If you're in a committed relationship, if you got a husband, a wife, a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, give me a 5 in the chat. If you're in a committed relationship, give me a 5 in the chat. We got some people out here in committed relationships. So let me ask y'all something. Would that relationship, would you be comfortable in that relationship if you found out that everything your significant other had been telling you the whole time in your relationship was a lie? What if you found out your significant other had a whole nother life, that your significant other, their name wasn't even really their name, that they maybe had another family or they had a whole nother history, somebody? That would fuck you up, right? You would be completely blown away. It'll shock your world, right? That would shock your world. Just that would shock your world. Now think about the world we live in. Think about the information we grow up with. The stories, the biblical stories they give us, the historic stories they give us. They tell us, you know, they give us these biblical stories of Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel. And then they tell us stuff like, oh, we were slaves and the white man brought us over here from Africa. That's the story we walk around with. That's the story that 90%, no, I'm sorry, I want to say 95% of people walk around with the version that they got. And where did you get that version from? Where did you get that version of the story from? This version that you were a slave that were brought over here on a ship. Who gave you that? Somebody tell me. Where did we get that version? Where did we get that version of that story from? Because we damn sure ain't say it. Ain't no black man say, yeah, I remember being on the ship coming over here. Yeah, they brought us over here on the ship. I was on it. So where did we get that story from, guys? Where did we get it from? It came from white daddy, right? Your history, you mean to tell me your entire history came from the white man? That's where you got it from. The white man told you he brought you over here on ships. That's his story. So what you're doing is you're walking around here trusting your oppressor. You're trusting the information from your oppressor. His version. Now, see, the thing is about the oppressor is you got some that lie and you got some that tell the truth. You got some that lie and you got some that tell the truth. Your job as a researcher, your job as somebody who's seeking truth is to be able to differentiate between the one that lies and the one that tells the truth. My buddy CS tells the truth. You know how we know CS tell the truth? Because CS was never heard of in history. Nobody never talked about CS. The Most High God made sure I could find this information about CS. Of course they don't tell you about CS. They blackballed him. They blackballed him from science for the things that he said. So you gotta affiliate yourself with the Anglos that tell the truth as opposed to those who lie. That version you got from your white daddy is not the complete version of our story. Did they bring Africans over here on a ship? Yeah, they brought a few Africans over here. Of course they did. That's true. But what I'm telling you is the multitudes of our people were already in this land. That's the story you need to understand. The multitudes of our people were already present in this land. So, see, now you see how they operate in half-truths? So they'll give you a half-truth. A half-truth is that we brought you over here from Africa. No, a portion of Africans were brought over here by ship. That wasn't even a big, and I can get into that. That's something I might do tomorrow. That might be a live that I might do on Saturday, right? We can talk about the logistics of that trip from Africa to the Americas. That wasn't a safe trip. It was not safe to travel on the Atlantic Ocean, especially with that level of cargo. But if I get into that, it's going to take us, we're going to be up in here 12 o'clock, and I don't want to be up here that late, all right? So I might try to do that live tomorrow. But the logistics of that trip didn't allow for it to be made a lot of times. There was no travel. See, in your mind, when you think about the slave trade, you think about ships traveling up and down the Atlantic. Back and forth across the Atlantic. Hell no, it wasn't like that. The ships back then wasn't even big. They was very rickety. These ships couldn't hold more than 350 to 400 people. So you couldn't pack that ship full of slaves. And if you was only taking a few slaves, if you going back and forth to Africa, man, you know how many years this shit would take? It took like 6 months to make that trip from Africa. I think it took 4 to 6 months, depending on the weather, to make that trip by sea from Africa to, I'm trying to tell you. So what I'm telling you guys, your people was already here. This is what CS is telling you. That there were, listen to what he said. He said his second memoir was on the Negro or the black nations found in America before Columbus. Okay? So let's go back up top. He says the Society of Geography offered him a reward for the best memoirs on the origin of the Asiatic Negro. I sent them last year 2 memoirs, one on the Asiatic Negro, where he demonstrated the affinities of their languages within the African and Polynesian Negroes. So he demonstrated that the Asiatics were connected to the African and the Polynesian, that they was all the same people. That the African, Asiatics, and the Polynesians, all of them was the same people, okay? And it renders it probable, listen to this, and renders it probable that all Negroes originated in the southern slopes of the Himalayan mountains, as they once did all over India, South China, Japan, Persia, and Arabia. Didn't I just tell y'all? Didn't I just, hold on, look, let's pull it back up right quick. Hold on. In the southern slopes of the Himalayan mountains. Huh? Ain't that what we've been talking about? Ain't that what we've been talking about, guys? So CS not even talking about Cain. He don't know nothing about Cain being the reason for this. This is what Chief Kuttah was able to bring to the table. See, if you truly a master researcher, you can build on the research of people from the past. I was able to build on his research. So he was able to come to the conclusion that there was a lineage of black people that existed in this region. And these are the people that we call the Asiatic Negroes. And these Asiatic Negroes were the first to inhabit India, China, just like we were just talking about, okay? So Cain, it was probable that Cain was exiled to this region, and that in this region he was able to procreate and create that civilization. He was the father of these Asiatics. Okay? So now that we've established the presence of ancient black people in this region, now that we've established that there's a white man that in the 19th century wrote that black people were the original people of the Americas, and not only did he say that, he said that these blacks, these Asiatics, that was original to America, had a connection to this region. The same region that I surmise that Cain was exiled to, which means Cain is probably the father of the Asiatic races. Okay? He won 2 gold medals and 300 francs for the 2 memoirs he wrote on the Asiatic Negroes and their migrations and the black Indian tribes that were here pre-Columbus. So hold on, we finna cook some more. We ain't done. My boy CS is not done. So not only did CS tell us that it was black folks here before everybody else, he gave us a list of the black tribes. Okay? So if you want to do your research on any of these tribes, guys, y'all should get on, there's a search engine called Yandex, Yandex. Y'all should use Yandex and do your research on these tribes, okay? If you don't got Yandex, access Yandex. It's just like Google. It's the Russian Google, okay? And do your research on these black tribes, okay? You got the ancient caracoles of Haiti, of Iet, all right? I keep telling y'all that these islands of America, the Dominica, the West Indies, these islands were filled with black people. Columbus wrote about this, okay? How these people had gold-tipped spears. Y'all know damn well no Native Americans ain't have no gold-tipped spears. Native Americans didn't even have gold. That's why I be telling y'all, man, go do your research on. Stop believing shit at face value and go actually do the research. Because what you're going to find out, Native American people were super primitive. If the Native Americans were the original people here, you got to explain all of these complex structures we find over America. We find pyramids all over America. We find pyramids and mounds all over America. These are complex structures. The Native Americans lived in teepees. They lived in buffalo hide teepees. They did not build structures. Okay? So like I say, these islands, these were black islands. Of course. And you can see that today. And another thing, let me say y'all something about Haiti, right? The ancient caracoles of Haiti. So right there, they telling you that there was a ancient race of black people that was in Haiti before Columbus. Check this out, though. Think about something. They always tell you about the Haitians revolting, right? Give me some H in the chat if you're familiar with the Haitian revolt. Jay Swing in the building. What's happening, my brother? Peace and love. Give me some H in the chat if you're familiar with the Haitian revolt. Okay. See, y'all need to take a closer look at the Haitian revolt. Now, the white man landed in America in 1600. The English. Watch this. The white man landed in America in 1619. The English came to the Americas in 1619. The Haitian Revolution Let me get this up right quick. Hold on. Let me get the date of the Haitian Revolution. I know it's the 18th century, but let me get the exact date. Let me get Haitian Revolution date. All right, 1791.
These pictures should match.
1791. White folks was only here about 100 years, okay? They wasn't here that long. So whatever slaves that they had brought, they didn't bring slaves when they first got here. It took some time before they got. Like I say, if y'all around tomorrow, I'm gonna do some more information on this stuff. I'm gonna build on it some more. But they didn't bring there were not black African slaves on this landmass originally. First of all, the first slaves were white. Newsflash, yeah, y'all don't know about that? The first slaves on American soil were white folks. English and Irish vagrants. In school, they told y'all that these people were called indentured servants. That's just because they didn't want to call white people slaves. That's just because they didn't want y'all to know that the white man was the slave of the white man. See, white folks treated their own people like shit. And then they taught them to treat us like shit to lift themselves up. All right? That's the only way the poor white can lift himself up, by trying to look down on the black man. Okay? So the first slaves in America, that's another, if you don't know, please come around tomorrow and I'm going to give you that game. All right? But the first slaves in America were white. I promise you I got the proof. Okay? So this is what I want y'all to understand. So they didn't start really getting slaves to these places till really late 17th century. That's when they started importing slaves, late 17th century. Okay? So the Haitians that was on this island, if they were slaves that were transported from Africa, before the revolution started, these people wasn't there for no more than maybe 50 years. Maybe they had been there maybe 50 years or so. Okay? Which is not a long time, right? And they were supposed to be constantly bringing slaves into that place, right? So when they had this revolution and they kicked the French's ass, right? They kicked the French's ass. Why didn't Haitians get them boats and just go back to Africa? You ever ask yourself that? I mean, think about it. Somebody kidnapped you from your land. You've been kidnapped. You know that you're not from this land. You decided to revolt. You actually overturned them. You actually whooped their ass, and then you got their ships. Why didn't those Africans return to Africa? Why didn't they jump on them ships and put them ships back on the sea and go to Africa? Don't say that they ain't know how to sail, because they knew how to sail. We had boats before everybody. You know why they didn't go back, gang? You know why they didn't go back? Because they was at home. They were not fighting to be liberated. They were fighting to run these people off of their island. That was their home. That's why they stayed there. Ain't no way in the world if you kidnap me right now and you take me to fucking England, I don't give a fuck if I'm there 50 years. The first chance I get a chance to go back, I'm gone. And I'm sure everybody else would be. You ain't gonna be like, oh, let me stay here where motherfuckers done actually beat the shit out of me and put nooses on my neck and killed me. Let me stay. The only reason you stay where blood has been spilled is that's your home. People be asking me right now, would I go back to Africa? And I say all the time, Africa is not my home. You see, the history of Africa, I'm connected to the history of Africa. See, let's make sure we understand. See, this is what I want y'all to understand. You don't have to disrespect the history of Africa, or you don't have to disrespect African people to understand that we're connected to the African story, not the African people. We are not Africans in that sense. We are not. Okay? When Kain was exiled, we are not. Okay? When Kain was exiled from that region. When Kain was exiled from that region and he went into a new region, we ceased being Africans then. And Kain wasn't even he was from, he wasn't from the Abzu. He didn't come from the lower Abzu, okay? So we stopped being Africans when he was exiled out of that region and when he began to build his civilization. Okay? But we are connected to the African story because that is the epicenter. That is the origin point of what is modern humanity. Do y'all understand that? Put a 5 in the chat if you understand that. Like, I know it's some African people out here that's got some bad attitudes that talk shit about us, but that ain't all of Africa. It's just a few people that we see on social media. So you can't be letting them people disconnect you from your story. Africans don't own Africa. Africans don't own the African story. If you are a melanated person, you have just as much claim to Africa as a motherfucker who lived there. I don't care because my history is connected to that continent. I don't need their validation. Now, I don't go around calling myself no African, no. I would never do that because I'm not African. But do I recognize we are related? We cousins. We're not brothers, we cousins. Okay, we deep, there's some cousins. You got your first cousin who you extremely close with. Your first cousin be almost like your brother. You be close to your second cousin, right? But when you start getting down the line, you talking about third cousin, fourth cousin, you talking about fifth cousin removed. Hey man, you basically just like a glorified friend. You ain't really fam like that. Okay? So I'm just telling y'all, do not let the ignorance of Africans make you disconnect yourself from the history of Africa, because that is a part of your history. Okay? It's a part of your history. Okay? In every way. And there's way more to it than you think. So CS gave us a list of these different tribes that was in these locations. So you got the ancient Caracos of Haiti. You got the Californians of the Carib Islands. They were also called the Black Caribs or the Guainini. Okay? The Agoras of the Quatara, the mentioned by Garcias in the West Indies, it's called them quite black. The Black Auroras of Raleigh, or the Auroras of the Spaniards, they call these people ugly, black, or brown Negroes. This is what the historians and the explorers wrote about these people. So when they came to these lands, they say that these was ugly, black, or brown Negroes. I keep telling y'all guys, they are not going to walk up to you and give you this proof. You got to be out this bitch digging, or you got to have somebody that can lead you to the truth. That's my job. That's what I've been doing. I've been trying to keep you from having to travel 20 years. It took me 20 years to learn this. I don't want you to have to waste another 20 years of your life trying to learn what I know, when I can just give it to you, when I can just teach it to you. Let's skip the steps. We can skip all them steps. We ain't got to go do 20 years. You can get it now. Okay? So let me show y'all another one. I got another name on this list I want to share with y'all. Hold on. Check this out. Look at this one. Hold on. Let me see if we got it. Check this one out, guys. Right here, just below that finger. Y'all, can y'all see that just below that finger? Much love, D-Lynn. You know I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate the ones who appreciate me. All right? Look at number 11. Look at number 11. The Black Indians met by the Spaniards in Louisiana in 1543. Big shout out to the boot. Shout out to all my folks from the boot, all my Louisiana Indians. Louisiana and Mississippi, we brothers, man. We brothers and sisters. We twins. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, we brothers and sisters. We twins, all right? Yeah, come on now. All right, they talking about Chief Tuscaloosa. They talking about Chief Tuscaloosa. Do y'all know what that name means? The name Chief Tuscaloosa of the Choctaw. You know what that name means? That name means black warrior. Now, why the fuck would a Native American be calling himself a black warrior? Why? Why not brown warrior? Why would you go to... I hate when these motherfuckers come up with these... Oh, well, they do that because, you know, they want... It signifies... Blah, 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 blah. Nigga, ain't nobody gonna call themselves black nothing unless they're trying to describe their description. Unless they're trying, and listen, his son was named Black. Man, come on, man. Chief Tuscaloosa had a son named Black Panther. I swear to God. Be in my live tomorrow. I'm going to bring you that information. Chief Tuscaloosa was about 6'7". Big old tall brother. Big old tall brother. And he had a son named Black Panther. And the reason he had the name Black Panther, because there's a lot of Black Panthers in Alabama and Mississippi. We got, I don't know if y'all know that, we've always had Black Panthers in the bayous of Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Ask anybody that's from them lands, they'll tell you that. Hell yeah, they wouldn't call themselves Black nothing. That's just like the way, come on, man. Hey, man, I got some more for y'all. We finna cook. That's just like the way, check this out. What's up, Brother Rodney? Shout out to Brother Rodney in the building. Check this out, gang. We finna cook. That's just like the way the Mayans painted themselves in Bonaparte. Man, don't be no motherfucking fool. You think these people painted themselves looking like this? You got Hispanic, you got white Hispanic Mexicans talking about, we was the Mayans. Bullshit. These the Mayans. This is how them folks painted themselves. Can you imagine making a painting of yourself and then having to sit by while a whole generation of people come along and claim that they was you? Hispanic folks, if this was y'all, where the fuck your skin color go? Where your skin color go? If this was y'all. Come on now. We finna get into this. Don't worry about it. Hey man, we finna get into this, guys. We ain't done. We ain't done, guys. I told y'all we teaching today, man. I told y'all we teaching today, man. If you learning something, give me some sevens in the chat. If you're learning something today, give me some sevens in the chat, man. We came to teach today, baby. Shout out to everybody that's learning something. It was Mr. Raffinesse who said these Asiatics had their beginning in the southern slopes of the Himalayas. Now, in order to understand how all this connect, you have to theorize a bit. Cain was sent east to a land of wandering, meaning an undeveloped land. All right, we already established that. Cain was sent east to a land of wandering. Okay, so if we go east of this location, you end up in this location, which is here. Okay, Cain was sent east to a land of wandering, meaning the undeveloped land. Cain was told by Adam that from him 7 nations will be created. Okay, so this is we talking about the Asiatic nations. The Asiatic nations. Okay. In my theory, Cain traveled east and settled in that southern Himalaya area, where him and his wife and others began to populate that region. Now, if you know the scientific history, black people are credited with being the first inhabitants of this region. And you know Cain is black. The Bible is about black people. So if I'm wrong, the southern slopes of the Himalayas shouldn't have any history of indigenous black people, but we already see it does. Indigenous black Nepalese, indigenous black Dravidian. That's the southern slopes of the Himalayas in the Indian region. Cain fathered the Asiatic line that would go on to journey into the America and become some of the paleo tribes that was predecessors to the American Indian tribes. So in order to understand this connection to the Americas, we are going to look at the excerpts from the tablet translations. Hold on, give me just a second. All right. So here we go. So let me show y'all how this worked as far as how did the Asiatics get to the Americas. Okay? So we've proven that these Asiatics was in this region. Now our next step is to prove how they got from this region over to the Americas. Okay? So like I told y'all guys, these people, they migrated into all these regions. So when we hear stories about China having some early black dynasties, like the Shi dynasty and the Zhang dynasty, okay, these were melanated dynasties in China. This is where this comes from, okay? Do your research on the black dynasties of China. Do your research, okay? So now we're going to take a look at the tablet translations. We're going to look at some excerpts from the tablet translations that's going to give credence to how they got to the Americas. Now, you guys haven't covered this yet, but it's going to be coming up probably maybe like somewhere in next week, somewhere along the lines of next week, okay? So this is an excerpt from the tablet that talks about Ninurta. Y'all remember Ninurta, the son of Enlil, son of Yahweh? Okay. Ninurta, Enlil was kind of suspicious of Enki and Marduk. Okay? So Enlil saw that Marduk was starting to build a great gap, was starting to build a great multitude of earthlings around him. Okay? So Enlil kind of saw early on that Marduk was trying to build an earthling army. Do y'all understand that? Enlil was very suspicious of Marduk and Enki. So he saw that. He's like, damn, there's something going on over here with Enki and Marduk. They're trying to build an earthling army. They're trying to build a lot of earthlings around them. So he called upon Ninurta and he told Ninurta, he said, I want you to go. I want you to go and find the offspring of Kain. And with them, prepare a domain of your own. Okay, so this is, check this out, follow me now. This is directly from Enlil to Ninurta. Enlil tells Ninurta, go, find the offspring of Kain. With them, a domain of your own prepare. Okay, everybody see that? Oh shit, I was trying to, let me blow it up a little bit. Y'all can see this? Go, the offspring of Kain find. With them, a domain of your own prepare. So let's break that down. This is Enlil. Enlil told Ninurta to go and find Kain. Go find Kain and his people because Kain is in exile. So he sees Marduk building up a multitude of earthlings. So Enlil said, we need to be doing the same thing. Come here, son. Go find Kain. Go see what Kain at. Go get with him and his people. And with them, I want you to start building an army. I want you to start building a multitude of people. Okay? Now, go, the offspring of Kain, find them with a domain of them, with them, a domain of your own, prepare. Look at what they got highlighted in the background. Look at the region that they got highlighted. Y'all see that region? That's China. They're letting you know that Kain's people had made it to China. They began in India. They began in the southern slopes of Himalayas. They went into India. They stayed in Nepal, but they also migrated into China. Got to remember, guys, China is in that same region. Once again, it's easy to surmise. They go China right above, okay? So it's easy to surmise that they went into that area. That's easy. That's easy to understand that they went into Southeast Asia. They went into China, okay? And so the Sumerian tablets are telling you the same thing, that they were in that China region. Go, find the offspring of Kain, and with them, a domain of your own prepare. Now, Kain and his family settling in these areas makes perfect sense to how there is such an ancient melanated presence in these regions. As you know, our people are considered to be the oldest presence in China, India, and Nepal. I often refer to Kain as the father of Asiatics because I know that these Asiatics had their origin in the region of Nepal or the southern slopes of the Himalayas, near Nepal, as mentioned by award-winning archaeologist C.S. Raffinese. He fathered this line of blacks. But the real connection to the Americas came when they were explaining how Anunnaki Prince Ninurta taught Kain's descendants to build boats from basalm trees to cross a great sea. Remember I told y'all, they're going to give you the clues to how this worked, okay? So the next thing was, hold on. To the other side of earth, Ninurta went. The offspring of Kain he found. This is the other side of earth. Okay? So let me make that clear to y'all. Let me show y'all what they mean when they say that. So everybody can understand. Okay. So this was the known world at the time. Don't even think about the Americas. Don't even think about the Americas right now. This was the known world. This area that they was in. Okay, so in that early ancient beginning, this was the known world. This was the whole of the world. Okay, so if they talking about going to the other side of the earth to find Kain's people, it's only two ways you can go. You can go west or you can go east. You can go west or you can go east. Now, which way did they say Kain went into exile? Which direction did Kain go into exile? If you're going to the other side of the earth, there's one side to the west and there's one side to the east. Which way did they say that Kain went from the Eden? Yeah, come on with it, cat. Come on, J Swing. He went eastward. So if he went eastward, like I told you, the research from C.S. Raffinese shows that there was a ancient line of black people that originated from this region, and that same ancient line of black people migrated within this region. So it's easy to surmise that they migrated on into China. And here's a Sumerian tablet verifying that by highlighting China in the background. This is why China is highlighted in this scene. Because they're letting you know that this is where Kain's people was picked up from. This is what Ninurta picked them up from, okay? So he came. This is the other side of the earth, all right? Because after you get out of China, then you're in the Pacific Ocean. So this is the ends of the earth. China would be one end of the earth. California or Alaska, or, you know, way out there. But California would be the other ends of the earth, okay? So he went eastward. So now we know that they were in China, okay? So check this out. They said that, let me read this. Hold on. How to build rafts out of basalm trees, he showed them. To cross a great sea, he guided them. So if they in China, right? So they take these basalm trees, and you can find basalm trees in North America, because there was a time with my theory, I thought that Kain went directly into the Americas, but I was wrong. And I came back and I told y'all, didn't I come back and I corrected it? I say, okay, guys, Kain didn't go directly into the Americas. He was somewhere else, and there was a pit stop before they ended up migrating into the Americas. So I had to go back and correct my own theory, all right? So, how to build rafts of basalm trees, he showed them. To cross a great sea, he guided them. Okay, let's cook a little bit. So if they in China, and they're building rafts to cross a great sea, well, what's the great sea after you get out of China? Once you come off the coast of Chinese land, what great sea is there? Huh? Talk to me. What great sea is there? Is there a great sea? Come on with it. What great sea is located on the coastline of China? Come on, cat. Star student in the house. AR in the house. The Pacific Ocean. And when you cross that Pacific Ocean, you know what's on the other side? Huh? You know who got the biggest population of Asians in America? California. You know why California got the biggest population of Asians? Because the motherfucker right across the ocean. It's one little old ocean trip, one little old ocean liner trip. Right across the ocean, you'll be going into, you can go into South America. Hold on, watch this. You can go into North America via the Pacific Ocean, or you can go into South America. You understand? So from China, they crossed the Great Sea. He helped them build these rafts to cross these Great Sea. And this is the migration that led the ancient paleo tribes, the ancient black paleo tribes into the America. And guys, this is all happening at about 100,000 BC. So when they ask you about us being in America, you let the motherfuckers know we've been on this land for over 100,000 years. That's our story. We didn't originate here. Okay, it's okay, guys. You can't originate everywhere. You got to originate from one spot. So it was either America or it was Africa. I'm sorry, guys. All the research by 3 miles long show Africa. There's no research that supports the idea that we originated in America. The only people that originated in America were the hominids that survived the Great Flood, and they eventually evolved into Neanderthals. And these Neanderthals are still in the jungles of South America today. Have y'all ever seen them wild ass tribes, like them hairy tribes? They got some hairy, woolly. They got tribes in South America that don't even speak a language. They just grunt and make noise. Give me some sevens in the chat if y'all ever seen that. Go do your research. I swear to God, there's tribes that live in the jungles of South America that don't even speak languages. They just grunt. Okay? These are hominids that evolved into Neanderthals, and they're still Neanderthals to this day. They're still Neanderthals. They are not Homo sapiens. Okay? So I'm telling y'all, so for anybody that want to keep claiming that they originated in America, then you must be a Neanderthal. But if you are Homo sapien, you started in Africa. Because the Homo sapien program was an Anunnaki program. That did not, the Anunnaki telling us they self. Now watch this. Imagine writing your life story and then somebody coming along, picking up your book and then saying, oh, that's cap. So that's how the Anunnaki feel right now. Y'all down here, these folks that literally gave us a stone tablet with all the information that we wanted, all the information that we wanted to know, and then we don't even want to respect it. Oh, that's cap. That's cap. No, it's not cap. It's a first-hand account of what took place. I believe I'm taking the Anunnaki's word over everybody's word. Trust me. You're going to have to prove them wrong. You're going to have to prove them wrong. I'm taking their word over everybody's word. Because they built the pyramids, and the pyramid's still there. The pyramids is one of the most complex structures known to mankind. Mankind don't even know what the fucking pyramids was for. We are guessing. It was a power plant. Of course it was a power plant, but it was much more than a power plant. It was a fucking portal. It literally ripped open stargates in the sky. Man didn't build that. There was a different type of being that was present. And that being is responsible for our genetic manipulation. That being is responsible for us becoming what we call Homo sapiens. Okay? So as you can see, they cross. As you can see, yeah, man, come on, tell me about it. Yeah, what's under the pyramids? Come on. Come on now. As you can see, they cross the Pacific. And if you cross the Pacific, you're going to come into the lands of America. These people will be the first people of the lands in America. And these people were fully melanated because Adapa was melanated and Titi, who we call Eve, was also melanated. And so was their sons, one of whom was Cain. Which means Cain's descendant would have been the first melanated or first people, period, on these lands. His descendants were the original tribes of these lands long before Native Americans, long before white folks. I believe his descendants were in this land as early as 100,000 years ago. Minimally 100,000 years ago. Will they ever teach that in school? Hell no. Will they verify the information? Not out loud. Not out loud. You got to remember what's the formula of the white power structure. The formula of the white power structure is to kill anybody that's teaching truth. Okay? It's to quiet any truth that could be brought out to the public. They've always done this. They got a history of burning books. They got a history of hiding stuff. Guys, back in the 19th century, you could be jailed for teaching anything outside of what they wanted you to teach. You could be put in jail for it. Okay? Will they ever teach this information in school? No. Will they verify the information? Not out loud. But they cannot deny the Sumerian source. I don't give a damn what they want to do. They can't deny the credibility of the Sumerian tablets. You can't get around the fact that it's older than the Bible. You can't get around the fact that all the Old Testament stories originated in the Sumerian tablets. You can't get around that. Okay? It's a reason that they don't let no one excavate the mounds. Right? So they got these Native Americans out here got the mounds and these preservations where they won't let nobody come and do archaeology work in the mounds. Why wouldn't you? If you claim to be the original people of the Americas, why are you scared to let folks? Because all of these mounds are in Native American lands. They gave the Native American these lands where these mounds are at. So why wouldn't they? It's just like the Blue Star people. Y'all know who the Blue Star people is, right? The Blue Star people, the people that's dropping all the missiles on babies over there over cross seas. Y'all know who I'm talking about, right? So anyway, it's just like them people don't want to take DNA tests. Why they don't want to take DNA tests? They telling us they the original people. The Blue Star people swear to God that they God's chosen. Yeah, come on with it. Thank you, Cat. The Blue Star people swear to God that they God's chosen people. Well, take a DNA test. Take a real DNA test. I'm talking about the real one, not the one you get at 23andMe. Guys, those are not authentic DNA tests y'all getting at Ancestry.com and 23andMe. I promise you. You really need to do your research on that as well, okay? But to get a real DNA test, to get a real genetic, to get a real genome breakdown, you got to go to a college university. And you got to go to wherever they dealing with genetics, whatever department deals with genetics, you got to go deal with somebody at a college university that can give you an actual genetic breakdown, okay? But these natives, they don't want nobody to do excavation on the mounds. They, we don't want to disturb the dead. Bullshit. We need to verify that you are who you say you are. What's wrong with verifying? We don't take your word. I don't take people's word. You got to prove yourself. So this is why they don't want us to excavate the mounds, because they know that those are Negroid people in those mounds. I know my sister Shay asked me yesterday, were we the mound builders? Yes, of course we were the mound builders. The mounds were an interpretation of the greater pyramid structures. So man didn't have the ability to build in the fashion that the Anunnaki built. So they tried to emulate it. And when they emulated it, we get the mounds. Okay? That's why they were building mounds. It was an emulation of these other pyramidal structures that they had witnessed. See, the mound builders had witnessed the Anunnaki building pyramids. They saw it. So they tried to emulate that. It's a reason they don't let no one excavate the mounds, because they know who in there. Hell, they have already scientifically verified the presence of melanated people, meaning Negroid and Asiatic in the Americas as far back as 11,500. So check this out. These motherfuckers out here calling us pretendians, right? And I call them baby brains, because I know that they don't do the research. All these people out here that's, oh, y'all wrong. Y'all some baby brains. Y'all wrong. These people don't do the research. This is why I stopped debating. Because I realize that these debate people, they don't do research. And if you don't do the research, I'm wasting my time. Because see, I do the research. So when I say that black people were the original American Indians, I ain't just saying that. I got the proof and the receipts to back it up. Let's talk about Louisa. What y'all know about our sister Louisa? Huh? Now, I know they caught her on a bad hair day right here. They could have did better. They could have threw a wig on my girl or something. They could have threw some dookie braids on my girl or something. They could have gave my girl some waterfalls or something, a lace front or something. But this is Louisa woman, guys. What y'all know about Louisa, man? Put some respect on her name. Shout out to my melanated goddess, Louisa. Oh, I told y'all we cooking today, baby. I told y'all we cooking today. They say we wasn't here. I keep giving you proof. I gave you C.S. Raffinesse. I gave you C.S. They say we wasn't here. So I'm here to give you proof. Now, there was one white man that already told you that black people was here. These are white folks that did this study as well. These are white archaeologists that did this study as well. Let's talk about Louisa woman, huh? Let's talk about Louisa woman, huh? Let's see if we can add some credibility to this story of the Black American Indian. Come on with me. Louisa woman, an enigmatic Paleo-Indian skeleton from the Upper Paleolithic period, has captivated the world since her discovery in 1975 in Lake Vermelha, Brazil. Unearthing the ancient past, this remarkable find has led to numerous questions and debates among archaeologists and scientists about her origins, her ancestry, and the early human migrations to the Americas. Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you the Asiatics migrated into the Americas? Come on, let's go. Here we go. Louisa, let's get it. Let's keep reading. We ain't done. We still cooking. Going deep in my bag tonight, gang. Louisa woman owes her name to the Ethiopian fossil Lucy, discovered a year earlier in 1974. So not to confuse the two, the Ethiopian fossil Lucy, y'all remember Lucy, right? They even made a movie in reference to Lucy, right? Lucy is a hominid, okay? Lucy is not a Homo sapien. Lucy is a hominid, all right? That's an early ancestor. So they found Lucy in 1974, but in 1975, they found Louisa. Okay, hold on. Louisa woman owes her name to the Ethiopian fossil Lucy, discovered a year earlier in 1974. In that Laming Imperier, the archaeologists who found Louisa believed this ancient woman lived approximately 11,500 years ago in South Central Brazil. Did y'all hear that? Making her the oldest remains found in the Americas, in all of the Americas. Did y'all hear that? On the scientific record, Louisa woman, this black woman, right? White folks did all this research. They found the skull. They did the rendering. They did all of this. Now, I don't know why white folks would want to lie for us. They ain't never liked us. They ain't never showed us no love. I don't see white people making this up to lie for us. That's just some white people that have to tell the truth because they love to do their research, okay? Louisa woman, 11,500 years ago. That puts Louisa right around the time of the Great Flood. Some say that Louisa may have been a survivor of the Great Flood. She was either a survivor of the Great Flood or she was a victim of the Great Flood. Okay, I can give you the information. I can give you the information on that, but we'll be in here all night. Okay, but 11,500 years ago, guys, this oddly lines up with the Sumerian tablets account of Kain's descendants who survived the flood. So we're going to get to a point in the Sumerian tablets when we get to the Great Flood story, and I'm gonna go and drop this bombshell on y'all right now. Noah was not the only survivor of the Great Flood. Noah was not the only survivor of the Great Flood. I'm telling you right now. I'm going to drop that on you right now. He was not the only survivor of the Great Flood. There were other people in the Americas that survived the Great Flood, in which we believe Louisa may have been a descendant of these survivors. Because her carbon dating of her skull lines up with the same time period of the Great Flood. Ain't that fascinating, gang? Ain't that fascinating? That's better, Louisa. My girl loped up now. Okay, good. That's much better. Forensic analysis suggests that Louisa was in her early 20s at the time of her death. Listen to this, gang. What sets her apart from most Native Americans and their Siberian predecessors. I don't know why the Native American people don't like me. I ain't do nothing but tell the truth. See, the truth make people dislike you. People don't like the truth, but hey, I digress. What sets her apart from most Native Americans and their Siberian predecessors, people trying to keep coming up in the room trying to do a battle. I'm sorry about that, guys. I keep declining these battles. What sets her apart from most Native Americans and their Siberian predecessors is her strikingly distinct facial features. Some anthropologists, including renowned forensic specialists, man, this dude need to stop sending me damn invites. He done messed me up. Some anthropologists, including renowned forensic facial reconstruction expert, y'all hear that? This was done by a renowned forensic facial reconstruction expert. Do y'all hear that? The person that did the reconstruction of the skull was a fucking renowned expert. So I don't want to hear nobody talking about, oh, that's false, that's fake. Okay? Some anthropologists, including renowned forensic facial reconstruction expert Richard Neve, liken her features to those of Negroids, indigenous Australians, and the Negritos of Southeast Asia. Can I drop my mic yet, guys? That's another connection to Southeast Asia. Come on now. I said that Cain went to Southeast Asia. C.S. Raffinesse, almost 200 years ago, said that it was some people came from Southeast Asia into the Americas, and now the fucking anthropologist expert said that she was a descendant of the people from Southeast Asia. I want to drop my mic, but I ain't done yet. This is how you do real research. This is what it means when people say, send me, where your receipts? This is what real research looks like. So I don't know who y'all dealing with out here in TikTok. I don't know who y'all dealing with in social media. But if they ain't making the connections, if they ain't bringing the receipts, if they ain't showing the proofs, they ain't no damn teachers. You got to bring the receipts. You got to bring the proof. You got to bring the connections. It's got to make sense. Now, let me tell y'all something. Let me tell y'all how we know this the truth. Let me tell y'all how we know this the truth. This truth bothered them pale skins so bad. I'm talking about the Hispanic pale skins. See, y'all got to remember, guys, these Hispanics, you know what I'm saying? They mixed up. They from Spain. Them people from Spain. Come on, Cat. We got it on 400 tonight, Cat. It's popping. Them folks from Spain, they white folks too. They white folks too. They were so pissed off by these findings by Louisa. These motherfuckers burned down the museum. So you know somebody would tell them the truth. They burned down the museum that housed Louisa remains because they were so pressed. When they fired the story of Louisa, the oldest human skull found in America. Y'all see that, right? The story of Louisa, the oldest human skull found in America. This is the oldest one that's accepted by science. So don't come tell me about no other bullshit that ain't accepted by science. If it's not accepted by science, I don't want to hear about it. Okay? When a fire ripped through Museum Nacional de Rio de Janeiro in early September, the world mourned the loss of a massive collection of historical artifacts and research that cemented the past and future of Brazil's people. The museum housed the largest collection of Brazilian indigenous ethnology, Egyptian artifacts, and paleontological collection that made the institution a beacon of history and culture for Brazil. And y'all know Brazil got one of the biggest black populations in the world. And people like to say, oh yeah, they was brought over here in slavery. Bullshit. I get tired of that shit. Stop that. Y'all stop that. Them folks wasn't brought over here no fucking slavery. Them folks was already there. Oh, you brought over in slave. Because they want you to believe that the white man is... You know these pale skins be out here saying shit like, y'all ought to be happy we brought y'all over here. Y'all ever heard them pale skins say that? They say we ought to be happy that they brought us over here. Bitch, you ain't bring us over here. We don't owe you shit. That's just like your language. Always talking about we can't speak proper English. We're not intelligent because we can't speak. Bitch, this ain't our language. This ain't our natural language. Y'all forced this language on us. So they burned it down, gang. They were so pressed that they burned it down. But guess what? You can burn down a museum, but you can't burn down the findings. It's already logged in. See, the findings are already logged into the data. We already know now that a black woman, put some respect on my melanated goddesses, big shout out to all the melanated goddesses in the house, that a black woman is the oldest remains found in the Americas. And now you understand why the emblem of America is a black woman. Let's take a look at the emblems of America. What y'all know about the emblems of America, guys? What y'all know about the true Lady America? Oh yeah, they been hiding shit from y'all. Yeah, this is in a major British museum. You gotta go to the back of the museum. You gotta request to see this. Come on now, what y'all know about the emblems of America, guys? Why is that not a Native American woman? Why is that a beautiful sister? Why is that a beautiful sister with a bow and an arrow? Man, y'all better get in here and talk to me. Why is that a beautiful sister with a bow and an arrow? Yeah, this comes from the 18th century. Do your research on the emblems of America. Please do your research. You got to go to this British museum. You got to go to this British museum and listen. There's a brother on TikTok that went to the museum to go see it up close. He had to go all the way in the back. They had this shit hid. Put a 7 in the chat if y'all seen a video where the brother go to the British Museum and have them pull this out. Give me some 7s if y'all seen that video. It's on TikTok. All you got to do is search Emblem of America, British Museum, Emblems of America, British Museum, and you should be able to find it. Yes, my love. Cat, we was already here, baby. I'm telling y'all, that's why I'm trying to tell y'all guys, this is the real Matrix story. That's why I call myself Big Chief Morpheus, gang. That's why I call myself Big Chief Morpheus. Because if you understand anything of the Matrix movie, Morpheus was the guy. It wasn't Neo. And then we're going to take questions, all right? If anybody want to have a question, drop it in the chat and we'll go from there, okay? Guys, like I say, guys, I hope everybody had a good time. I hope everybody learned something. Today, you received the knowledge of the true American Indian, of the Black American Indian. And this is as far as you can go without doing the archaeological work yourself, okay? So unless you're going to get out there and dig in the dirt and find some new information, this is probably the highest level of information you're going to get in regards to the American Indian, where we came from and how we get here, all right? So with that being said, go out and have a most wonderful weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Make sure you be safe. I love each and every one of you, okay? All of you that value my teachings, I absolutely love you, and I mean that, all right? I'm an empath, so when an empath says they love you, they truly mean it, all right? Y'all gonna have a most wonderful weekend. Cat, love you, mama. Love you, G. Love all y'all. Y'all have a good night. Have a good weekend. I will see y'all back Tuesday night. All right, Tuesday night, I will be back, okay? Peace and love, gang.